million songs a day, in hopes you're listening to every word I say. I'll make you crawl back in your bed and pray to God that soon I'll wake up dead. I'll wake up dead.
Hey guys, welcome to Surf and Show. I'm Noel Salas, and today's surfboard review is on the Rad Ripper by Lost Surfboards. Now I have two boards. They're both stock 5.5, and you can see they have two different colored logos. The green one is Futures, and I only surfed it as a thruster throughout the entire review. The blue logo board is FCSII, and I rode that as a quad exclusively. This will help you differentiate the two throughout the entire review, and at the end I have all the footage set, thruster first, quad second. I think you guys are going to love this review, so get your favorite drink, sit back, enjoy the show. So we've had a lot of requests for the Rad Ripper review. I just want to tell you what was going through my mind when I picked these two boards up. Without even surfing them, I'm looking at the board on the ground and I'm just thinking, this looks like something that I rode in the 80s outline wise. I look at it, it's got a little beak nose, it's got a really flat deck, and then when I grabbed it in my rail, it didn't feel like an 80s board. I mean, they were big and boxy with the flat deck. This is tapered down nice. I can feel the apex of the rails low, and that's going to help me get this board to bite and give me traction and hold through my turns, because the board has such low rocker, it's going to carry a ton of speed. And that's exactly what it was doing. Now, low rocker boards have good glide. It also paddles really well. And then all the foam is really shoved forward. That's why this little beak exists, right? Now, for me, I talk about get up and go speed. That's when I'm paddling, jump into my feet, one pump, the board's taken off. This board has that. Now, the stock 5.5, I believe the whole point and concept behind the Rad Ripper is it's more like that one board quiver, 1 to 5 feet. I believe it'll handle probably close to 6 foot real well because of the rail design, especially for the point break waves that I'm surfing. But for me, at 5.5, it's gonna fit in a small pocket, right? So riding in a 1 foot surf, 1 to 2 foot surf, it's gonna go really well there, especially in the performance wise, because it's gonna fit in those tight transitions. Now, for you bigger guys that are like, 5'10", 5'9", 205, I personally like a board that's crammed with a lot of foam, low rocker on a smaller wave board, as opposed to riding something that's like 6 foot or 6'2". They don't fit in a small wave. This Rad Ripper is going to go really good for you bigger guys in small surf. Now, as I turn the board in this position, you get a better idea what the outline looks like. And this board's relatively wide, especially in the tail area back here, right? We're taking a low rocker board and we want to maximize speed down the line. With the concaves that it has, which we'll look at next, this wide tail is really going to carry a lot of speed because the concaves are creating that lift. But there's certain things. We can get a lot of speed, but eventually we want to turn. Well, you see this wing right here at the bottom? That's going to give me a little break in the rail line, break the water off, and I'm going to be able to pivot off that. And it's also going to reduce surface area. And every time you reduce surface area by pulling in the tail, I can do a sharper turn. The other thing I have to mention is that it has a good amount of tail rocker. These are all things that really update this board to get the performance in the pocket that you'd want out of a small wave performance type board. Now, as I look at it, sure, it has that 80s vibe to it, but the way it feels under my feet, it feels like a small wave performance board with a lot of speed. So I mentioned concave. One of the things that the Lost website says is it has a little bit of V up front into a light single to an aggressive double to V out the tail. And when I put my ruler up in here in the nose area, it's not rocking. So if there's any V up here, it's pretty subtle. And to a surfer's eye, I might not see it, but I'm sure a shaper would pick it up in a second. And as I come in here to the single, it's not a real aggressive single. It's actually pretty moderate or low, but just back from center is where I can start to feel that double concave. And as I get in here by the fins, it gets pretty aggressive. And one of the things I like about a double concave through the fins is when the water channels like that, I really feel like it enhances or helps the board go rail to rail, especially when it's choppy. So I didn't get a lot of choppy surf, but we did have some offshore, and even when I was moving at a high speed, I really feel like that double concave with the lift, I can get it on rail because Matt paired that with a pretty aggressive V. Can you see the ruler rocking back and forth all the way through the tail? That's what's going to help this board roll over on rail, be able to hold it because the tail is so wide. And I really felt like at times, especially riding as a quad, it had great flow. Now I want to talk about the fins I chose in futures. I started riding the Rad Ripper right off the bat as a thruster. So I put in the fins that I'm really familiar with and that I like a lot. This is the Beta 2.0. It's a full carbon layup with a ride number at 5. So they're very predictable, they're super lightweight, and I'm familiar with them. I went with the R8 side fins. The R stands for raked. The 8 is a large. Then I went with an R6, which is a medium fin, in the back for the center fin to keep the board nice and loose and playful. And the board has a ton of speed. The raked fin gives it a lot of drive off the bottom and gaining speed through my turns, which I really liked. One of the things I noticed about the thruster is that it pivoted better than the quad, but in the pivot, I could never get comfortable. I kind of kept feeling like I was pulling me off balance, and the conditions were really clean. So I couldn't really put my finger on what it was, but then I started to study the footage, and some of the things that I noticed on both the thruster and the quad was that because it has such low rocker, I was catching up in this area at times because I felt like my front foot sometimes was in front of the sweet spot, which is pretty unusual for me. I have a relatively narrow stance, but with this board, I kind of felt like I was smothering the upper end at times, and it was really causing me problems up here. So one of my friends has the Rad Ripper and absolutely loves it and says, "No, I'm running the Almeric fins in there." I'm like, okay, well, that's not much different than what I'm running because they're both a lot of rake in these fins, but we'll try it. So I put the AM2's large Almeric fin inside just as a thruster and rode it something like that. And I think after just surfing the Rad Ripper for a couple days, I started to surf it better and get a little bit more comfortable on it as a thruster. But it didn't matter what set of fins I was using, I never really gelled with it as a thruster. Now I want to talk about the quad set I chose in FCS2. Since I was struggling with a thruster setup, I wanted to go with a quad set that I'm familiar with and that I like a lot. So I started with the large Performers on the sides. This is Performance Core Carbon, and the Performers are a neutral fin, so it's the best of both pivot and carving. I chose the Reactor quad rears in size medium. This is a really upright quad set, and it's going to get me into that lip real quick. What I sacrifice going to a quad is the ability to pivot quick. I believe this kind of setup right here will offset that, and it'll make this board not only faster, but I really believe that a quad has more release, and I feel like it's smoother from turn to turn. And that's what I was looking for out of a quad compared to the thruster. And by the second wave, I was starting to click with this Rad Ripper, and I felt like, here we go. Now that's feeling good. Now, if you're a futures guy, put the John large on the side and get the Hayden shape quad rears. That'll give you a similar feel to what this is right here. Now, as I began to surf this Rad Ripper in this setup right here, I began to gel with it, and by the end of the review, I was bummed it was over because I really liked it best as a quad. So let's look at some waves together. These are the waves that I'm struggling. My front foot's just in front of the sweet spot, and you can see it catching on the bottom turn right there. The board's still carrying good speed. Even on my backside, there's a twitch on both the top and bottom. You can see the board bogging right there. Watch it happen again on this coming down from this floater, just missing the sweet spot with my front foot. So these waves are on a thruster. Good first turn. Second turn's nice and crisp. You can see me a little off balance here, and that's kind of how I felt like on the thruster the whole time. That was a good two-turn combination, nice crisp turns. That turn felt good. This turn feels okay, but you can really see my foot's a little bit too far forward and I'm smothering the front end of this board. So let's look at the quad. There's that quick get up and go speed. The board's so much smoother from rail to rail. That was a nice roundhouse. Quick little floater right there, right into a reverse. These waves are small and the board's really moving well. Quick turn, seamless from rail to rail, and good balance too. Coming off the bottom, right under the lip, that felt good. Watch the quick get up and go speed right here. One quick pump, nice crisp turn. Wave kind of goes flat. You can see board's carrying good speed even in a 1 foot wave, finishing it strong. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed today's review on the Rad Ripper. I liked it best as a quad in waves ranging in 1 to 5 feet. Now I highly recommend this board for the intermediate surfer all the way to the pro level. Special shout out thanks to Matt Biolis for sending these boards down for review. And Aaron and I are stoked we got an email from Surfer Magazine that we've been nominated for Best Vlog in their 2019 Surfers Poll Award. Now they're releasing the results December 5th, so there's time to vote. And we would appreciate your support if you love the show. Now the other thing I want to mention is we're dropping our favorite finds this Wednesday for 2019. So don't forget to check that out. Look, if you like the show, subscribe. You can also find us at surfandshow.com. Until next time, we'll see you in the water. Bye-bye.
Your summers feel like hell. Let's start it off with the game of kiss and tell. I know you don't even like me. Oh, this